They say revenge is a dish best served cold, but what happens when fate serves it with a billionaire on the side? I'd love to know which corner of the globe you're watching from. And if this story speaks to you, make sure to subscribe. Tomorrow's video is one you absolutely can't miss. The rain hammered against the windows of our downtown Seattle apartment as I stared at the pregnancy test in my trembling hands. 2 pink lines. After 3 years with Marcus Wellington, we were finally going to have the family we dreamed about. I could already picture telling him the news when he got home from his business trip to Portland. My phone buzzed with a text from Marcus. Flight delayed. Home tomorrow instead. Love you, Sophia. I smiled, tucking the test into my jewelry box. One more day to plan the perfect surprise. The next evening, I spent hours preparing Marcus's favorite dinner, herb-crusted salmon with roasted vegetables. I'd even bought a tiny pair of baby shoes to place next to his plate. The apartment glowed with candlelight, and soft jazz played in the background. Everything was perfect. The sound of keys jingling in the lock made my heart race. I smoothed my emerald green dress and positioned myself by the dining table, ready to capture his reaction. Marcus, you're just in time for— The words died in my throat. Marcus walked through the door, but he wasn't alone. Behind him stood a woman with platinum blonde hair and piercing blue eyes, holding the hand of a small boy who couldn't have been more than 4 years old. The child had Marcus's distinctive hazel eyes and the same stubborn cowlick in his dark hair. Sophia, Marcus said, his voice strained. We need to talk. The woman stepped forward, extending a manicured hand. You must be the fiancé. I'm Victoria Ashford, and this is Tyler, Marcus's son. The baby shoes suddenly felt like lead weights in my pocket. Marcus ran his hand through his hair, a gesture I knew meant he was stressed. Sophia, please sit down. Victoria, maybe you and Tyler could wait in the living room while we— No, Victoria interrupted, her smile sharp as glass. Tyler should hear this too. After all, we're going to be a family. The room spun slightly. Marcus, what is she talking about? Victoria and I, we have history. We were together 5 years ago before I met you. When she left for London, I didn't know she was pregnant. Victoria's laugh was like wind chimes in a storm. I tried to tell you, Marcus, but you were so angry when I got the job offer. You said some rather harsh things about choosing a career over love. That's not how I remember it, Marcus muttered. Memory can be funny that way. Victoria said, crouching down to Tyler's level. Tell Marcus what we talked about on the plane, sweetheart. The little boy looked up at Marcus with wide, innocent eyes. Mommy said you're my daddy, and we're going to live together now like a real family. I felt physically ill. Marcus, you're engaged to me. We're getting married in 6 months. I know, and I'm sorry, Sophia. But Tyler is my son. He needs his father, and Victoria, she's been raising him alone all this time. Victoria stood up, smoothing her designer dress. It wasn't easy, but I managed. London was good to me. I made some excellent connections in finance, but Tyler kept asking about his father, and I realized it wasn't fair to keep them apart any longer. How convenient, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. Marcus shot me a warning look. Sophia, don't make this harder than it needs to be. Harder for who? For you. For your ex-girlfriend who conveniently shows up with a child right before our wedding. The words came out sharper than I intended. Tyler is not convenient, Victoria said coolly. He's a child who deserves to know his father. Surely you can understand that, Sophia. I looked at Marcus, searching his face for any sign that he would choose me, choose us, choose the baby I was carrying. But his eyes were fixed on Tyler, who was now exploring our bookshelf with the fearless curiosity of a 4-year-old. How long have you known? I asked. Victoria called me 3 days ago, Marcus admitted. She flew in yesterday. I needed time to process everything before telling you. 3 days. I felt hollow. You've known for 3 days and said nothing. I was trying to figure out how to handle this situation. Situation? The word tasted bitter. Is that what I am now? Tyler wandered over to the dining table, drawn by the flickering candle. "Why are there fancy plates?" he asked in that innocent way children do. "Because Aunt Sophia was making dinner for your daddy," Victoria said smoothly. Wasn't that nice of her? Aunt Sophia. The title hit me like a physical blow. "Marcus," I said, fighting to keep my voice steady, "can we talk privately?" "Of course." He turned to Victoria. "Can you keep an eye on Tyler for a few minutes?" "Naturally. Take all the time you need." Marcus led me into our bedroom, the room where we'd planned our future, where we'd talked about baby names and dream vacation. Now it felt like foreign territory. "Sophia, I know this is a shock. I'm pregnant." The words hung between us like a bridge neither of us knew how to cross. Marcus's face went through a series of emotions. Surprise, confusion, something that might have been joy, and finally resignation. "How long have you known?" "Since yesterday. I was waiting to tell you tonight." I pulled out the pregnancy test. "Surprise." Marcus sank onto the edge of the bed. "This changes everything." "Does it?" "Because from where I'm standing, it seems like you've already made your decision." "That's not fair. Tyler is my son, Sophia. I can't just ignore that." "And this baby isn't your child too?" "Of course it is. But Tyler's been without a father for 4 years. He needs stability, needs his parents together." "His parents?" "Marcus, you're not with Victoria anymore. You're with me." "It's complicated." Those 2 words shattered something inside me. "It's really not. Marcus, you either choose your life with me and our baby, or you choose to play house with Victoria and Tyler. You can't have both." "Why not? People co-parent all the time." "We could make it work." I stared at him, seeing clearly for perhaps the first time in 3 years. "Make what work exactly?" "Me raising your ex-girlfriend's child while she undermines me at every turn. Me playing second fiddle to your real family. That's not what I'm suggesting." "Then what are you suggesting?" Marcus was quiet for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely audible. "Maybe we should postpone the wedding. Just until we figure things out." The finality of it hit me like a physical blow. "Sophia, please understand." "I understand perfectly." I moved toward the dresser, pulling out a small overnight bag. "You've made your choice. Where are you going?" "To my sister's place in Spokane. I need time to think." "For how long?" I paused at the bedroom door. "I don't know, Marcus. Maybe forever." When I returned to the living room, Victoria and Tyler were on the couch, looking through a photo album I didn't recognize. Tyler was pointing at pictures and giggling while Victoria told him stories I couldn't hear. "Leaving so soon?" Victoria asked, noticing my bag. "Just for a few days," Marcus said quickly. Victoria's smile was sympathetic, but her eyes were cold. "Of course. This must be overwhelming for you, Sophia. Take all the time you need. Tyler and I will take good care of Marcus while you're gone." The possessiveness in her voice was unmistakable. This wasn't a woman seeking co-parenting arrangements. This was a woman reclaiming territory she believed was rightfully hers. A lot of love and effort went into bringing this story to life. If you're enjoying it, we'd be so grateful if you'd subscribe to our channel. Now, back to where we left off. "Bye, Aunt Sophia," Tyler called out cheerfully, waving from the couch. I forced a smile and waved back. My heart breaking for this innocent child caught in the middle of adult complications. As I drove through the Seattle streets toward the interstate, rain still pounding against my windshield, I couldn't shake the feeling that I'd just witnessed a carefully orchestrated performance. Victoria's timing, her words, even Tyler's responses. It all felt too polished, too convenient. But what hurt most was Marcus's willingness to believe it all. To throw away 3 years and our future for a woman who'd left him once before. I pressed my hand to my still flat stomach. "It's just you and me now, baby," I whispered. I had no idea that fate was about to deal me a hand I never could have expected. 3 weeks later, I sat in my sister Emma's cozy kitchen in Spokane, staring at the ultrasound photo the doctor had given me that morning. 8 weeks along. The baby was real, growing, depending on me to make the right choices. "Any word from Marcus?" Emma asked, setting a cup of herbal tea in front of me. He's called every day. Text constantly. I picked up my phone and scrolled through the latest messages. He says Victoria and Tyler are staying in the guest room temporarily while they figure out custody arrangements. Emma snorted. Temporarily. Right. And I suppose she's being completely reasonable about everything. According to Marcus, she's being wonderful. Cooking his favorite meals, helping Tyler adjust, being the perfect co-parent. The bitterness in my voice surprised even me. Sophia, you know this is manipulation, right? She didn't just randomly decide to contact him. She researched him, found out about your engagement, and timed this perfectly. I'd been thinking the same thing, but hearing it out loud made it feel more real. Even if that's true, Tyler is still his son. I can't compete with that. You're not competing. You're supposed to be his partner. My phone buzzed with another call from Marcus. I let it go to voicemail, just like I had for the past week. I wasn't ready to hear more about how wonderful Victoria was being. Emma sat across from me, her expression serious. Sophia, I need to tell you something. I've been debating whether to bring this up, but you have a right to know. What? Remember when you first started dating Marcus? You mentioned his family owned Wellington Construction, one of the biggest firms in the Pacific Northwest? Yeah, they do commercial buildings. High rises, mostly. Well, I did some digging. Emma pulled out her laptop. Wellington Construction has been struggling financially for the past 2 years. They've lost several major contracts, and there are rumors they might have to file for bankruptcy. I frowned. Marcus never mentioned any financial problems. There's more. Victoria Ashford. She's not just some finance professional who moved to London. She's the daughter of James Ashford. You know, Ashford International? They're worth about $3 billion. The teacup slipped from my hands, clattering against the saucer. What? She's an heiress, Sophia. Her father's company specializes in acquiring struggling construction firms and turning them around. Want to guess what their latest target might be? The room felt like it was tilting. You think she came back to acquire Marcus's company? I think she came back to acquire Marcus. The company is just a bonus. Before I could respond, my phone rang again. This time it wasn't Marcus. It was an unknown Seattle number. Hello? Sophia Brennan? The voice was deep, authoritative, with just a hint of an accent I couldn't place. Yes? My name is Alexander Wellington. I believe you know my brother Marcus. My heart skipped. I'd heard about Marcus's older brother but never met him. He'd been living in Europe, running some kind of international business. Mr. Wellington, please, call me Alex. I'm calling because I'm concerned about my brother, and frankly, about you as well. Could we meet? I'm flying into Spokane this afternoon. You're coming here? How did you even know I was in Spokane? I make it my business to know things, especially when they concern my family. And from what I understand, you're about to become family yourself. Emma was gesturing wildly, mouthing say yes. I suppose we could meet. Excellent. There's a coffee shop called Riverside Roasters downtown. Would 4 o'clock work? How will I recognize you? Don't worry about that. I'll find you. After hanging up, I stared at Emma in bewilderment. Marcus's brother wants to meet me. Today, this keeps getting more interesting. What do you know about him? Almost nothing. Marcus mentioned he moved to London about 6 years ago and started some kind of investment firm. They don't talk much. Some kind of falling out over the family business. Emma's eyes lit up. London. The same city Victoria was in. Think that's a coincidence? Everything about this situation feels like too much coincidence. At exactly 4 o'clock, I walked into Riverside Roasters, nervous and uncertain. The coffee shop was busy with the afternoon crowd, but somehow I immediately knew which man was Alexander Wellington. He sat in a corner booth, wearing an impeccably tailored charcoal suit that probably cost more than my monthly salary. Where Marcus was conventionally handsome in a boy-next-door way, Alexander was devastating. all sharp angles and intense dark eyes that seemed to see right through you. His black hair was perfectly styled, and when he stood to greet me, he moved with the confidence of someone who owned every room he entered. Sophia, he extended his hand, and when I shook it, I felt an unexpected jolt of electricity. Thank you for agreeing to meet me. Mr. Wellington, Alex, I have to admit I'm curious why you wanted to see me. He gestured for me to sit, then signaled the barista. What would you like? Just coffee. Black. After ordering, he leaned back, studying me with those penetrating eyes. You're not what I expected. What did you expect? Someone weaker. Someone who would have fought harder to hold on to Marcus. The bluntness caught me off guard. Maybe I'm not a fighter. Or maybe you have more dignity than my brother deserves. He paused as the barista brought our drinks. Tell me about Victoria Ashford. You know her? Of her, our paths have crossed in London's financial circles. She's ambitious, intelligent, and utterly ruthless when she wants something. She wants Marcus back. She wants what Marcus represents. The Wellington name still carries weight in certain circles, despite our company's current difficulties. So Emma had been right about the financial problems. How bad is it? Alex's expression darkened. Bad enough that Marcus is vulnerable to someone offering a lifeline. Bad enough that he might convince himself he's making decisions for love when he's really making them for survival. And you think Victoria is offering that lifeline? I know she is. Ashford International has been circling Wellington construction for months. Having Victoria personally involved would make an acquisition look like a merger between families rather than a hostile takeover. I felt sick. So Tyler is just… what? A convenient prop? Tyler is Marcus's son, that much appears to be true. I had it verified, but Victoria's timing suggests she's using that connection to maximum advantage. The confirmation hit me harder than I expected. Part of me had been hoping Tyler wasn't really Marcus's child, that this was all some elaborate con, knowing he was real, innocent, and being used in whatever game Victoria was playing made everything worse. Why are you telling me this? I asked. Because I don't like being manipulated, and because my brother is making the biggest mistake of his life. Maybe he's not. Maybe he's choosing what's best for his son. Alex leaned forward, his gaze intense. What's best for Tyler is having a father who makes decisions based on love and principle, not fear and financial pressure. Right now, Marcus is being played by a master manipulator, and he's too desperate to see it clearly. Even if that's true, what can I do about it? He's made his choice. Has he? Or has he been backed into a corner where he thinks he only has one option? I shook my head. I can't compete with Tyler. I won't ask Marcus to choose between me and his son. You're not competing with Tyler. You're competing with a carefully constructed fantasy Victoria is selling. The question is, are you willing to let her win without a fight? I'm pregnant, I said suddenly, not sure why I was telling him. Alex's expression didn't change, but something shifted in his eyes. I see, and does Marcus know? Yes. It didn't seem to matter. It will matter. When he's thinking clearly again, it will matter a great deal. You seem very confident about that. I know my brother. He's not thinking with his head right now, he's reacting out of panic and guilt. But Marcus has always been a good man at heart. He just needs someone to remind him of who he really is. Someone like you? Alex smiled for the first time since I'd met him, and it transformed his entire face. Actually, I was thinking of someone like you. I don't understand. Victoria is playing a long game, using every advantage she has. Maybe it's time you started playing your own game. I'm not manipulative like that. I'm not suggesting you manipulate anyone. I'm suggesting you remind my brother what he's giving up. Show him what a life based on love and partnership looks like, instead of letting him settle for one based on obligation and financial convenience. How? Come back to Seattle with me. Tonight. The suggestion was so unexpected I nearly choked on my coffee. What? I have business there anyway. You could stay at my place. It's a penthouse downtown with plenty of space. You'd be close enough to be present in Marcus's life without having to deal with Victoria's games directly. I can't just move in with you. I barely know you. You'd be my guest, not my roommate. Completely separate spaces, your own privacy. Think of it as strategic positioning. I stared at him, trying to process what he was suggesting. Why would you want to help me? Because I love my brother, and I want him to be happy. Because I don't like seeing good people get manipulated. And because, he paused, something unreadable flickering across his features. Because I think you deserve better than being cast aside for a corporate merger disguised as a reunion. The offer was tempting, but also terrifying. I need time to think about it. Of course. But don't take too long. Victoria isn't wasting time, and neither should we. As he stood to leave, he placed a business card on the table. My private number is on the back. Call me when you decide. After he left, I sat in the coffee shop for another hour, staring at the card and trying to make sense of everything. Alexander Wellington was clearly not a man who did anything without calculating the angles first. But what were his real motives, and was I prepared to trust him with my future and my unborn child's future? One thing was certain, sitting in Spokane feeling sorry for myself wasn't going to change anything. If I wanted a different outcome, I was going to have to take some risks. That evening, I called the number on the back of the card. Alexander's penthouse was everything I'd expected, and nothing I was prepared for. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a breathtaking view of Elliott Bay, while modern art and sleek furniture created an atmosphere of understated luxury. The guest suite he'd given me was larger than my entire apartment. With Marcus, the kitchen is fully stocked, Alex said, setting my bags down. My housekeeper, Mrs. Chen, comes in twice a week, but she's very discreet. You won't even know she's here. This is too much, I said, still overwhelmed by the opulence. I can't possibly. You can and you will. Consider it an investment in justice. His phone buzzed, and he glanced at it with a frown. Marcus has been trying to reach me all day. He knows I'm back in town. Are you going to tell him I'm here? Not yet. First, we need to understand exactly what we're dealing with. He moved to his laptop and opened it. I've had my team doing some research on Victoria's activities since she returned. The screen showed financial documents, photos, and what looked like surveillance reports. You had her investigated. I investigate anyone who threatens my family's interests, and Victoria Ashford is definitely a threat. He pointed to a bank transfer record. She's been quietly purchasing shares in Wellington Construction through shell companies. She now owns nearly 15% of the company. My blood ran cold. That's not possible. Wouldn't Marcus know about that? Not if the purchases were made strategically over time and through different entities. She's been planning this for months, maybe longer. He scrolled to another document. And there's more. She's been in contact with our biggest creditors, offering to pay off our debts in exchange for certain considerations. What kind of considerations? The kind that would give her significant control over company decisions, including personnel decisions. The implications hit me like a physical blow. She's trying to buy out Marcus's own company from under him. While making it look like she's saving him, it's actually quite brilliant, in a sociopathic way. I sank into one of the plush chairs, feeling overwhelmed. How can we stop her? By being smarter than she is. And by reminding Marcus what real partnership looks like. He closed the laptop and looked at me intently. Are you ready for this? Because once we start, Victoria will know she has competition. I'm ready. The plan Alex outlined was elegant in its simplicity. Over the next few days, I would gradually reintegrate into Marcus's life, not as a desperate ex-fiancé trying to win him back, but as a confident woman who knew her worth. Meanwhile, Alex would handle the business side, using his own resources to outmaneuver Victoria's financial manipulations. The first test came sooner than expected. The next evening, Alex's doorbell rang while we were reviewing legal documents about Wellington Construction. Expecting someone, I asked. Alex checked the security monitor and smiled grimly. It's Marcus. Right on schedule. He's here? Now? Victoria probably sent him to find out why I'm back in town. She's getting nervous. He stood up, adjusting his cufflinks. Stay here. Let me handle this. I heard voices in the foyer. Marcus's familiar baritone and Alex's cooler, more controlled tone. After a few minutes, Alex returned alone. He's gone, but not before I dropped a few strategic hints about my new investment opportunities in Seattle. He sat back down, looking satisfied. Victoria will be scrambling to figure out what I'm planning. What are you planning? To save my brother's company and his relationship. In that order. The next few days blurred together in a whirlwind of strategic moves. Alex introduced me to his business associates as his consulting partner, and we attended several high-profile events where we knew Victoria and Marcus would be present. Each appearance was carefully calculated to show Victoria that she wasn't the only one with powerful connections. At a charity gala for the Seattle Children's Hospital, I wore a stunning midnight blue gown that Alex had mysteriously produced, along with jewelry that probably cost more than I made in a year. When Marcus saw me across the room, his face went white. Sophia, he said, approaching our table with Victoria trailing behind him. I didn't know you were back in town. Surprise, I said, keeping my voice light and pleasant. Alex was kind enough to invite me to this wonderful event. Victoria's eyes narrowed as she assessed the situation. How nice that you two have become acquainted. Though I have to say, Sophia, this all seems rather sudden. Not really, Alex interjected smoothly. Sophia and I have been discussing some business opportunities. She has an excellent eye for investment potential. It was a complete lie but delivered with such confidence that even I almost believed it. Victoria's smile became strained. Business opportunities. How interesting. Marcus, you didn't mention that Sophia was involved in business ventures. Marcus looked confused and slightly hurt. She's not. I mean, she wasn't. He stopped, seeming to realize how dismissive he sounded. What kind of business opportunities? The kind that requires discretion, Alex said. I'm sure you understand. The subtext was clear. There were things happening that Marcus wasn't being told about. I could see him processing this, his jaw tightening with frustration. Well, Victoria said, her voice bright with false cheer, we should let you get back to your discussions. Come along, Marcus. Tyler is waiting for us at home. As they walked away, I caught Marcus looking back at me with an expression I couldn't quite read. Longing? Regret? Confusion? Maybe all three. That went well, Alex murmured. She's definitely rattled. I feel terrible lying to him. We're not lying. We're revealing the truth gradually. There's a difference. The truth, as it turned out, was more complicated than I'd realized. Over the next week, Alex's investigation uncovered the full scope of Victoria's scheme. She hadn't just been targeting Wellington Construction. She'd been systematically undermining Marcus's confidence and isolating him from anyone who might question her motives. Look at this, Alex said, showing me phone records. She's been intercepting his calls, screening his mail, even controlling his social media accounts. She's created a bubble where she's his only source of information about what's happening with his own company. That's psychological manipulation. It's abuse, and it's working. Marcus is so overwhelmed and grateful for her help that he can't see what she's really doing. The breaking point came 2 weeks after I'd returned to Seattle. Marcus showed up at Alex's penthouse at 11 p.m., looking haggard and desperate. I need to talk to you, he said to Alex. Not even noticing me sitting in the shadows of the living room. About the company. About everything. Of course, Alex said calmly. Would you like a drink? Victoria says you're trying to sabotage us. That you're working with competitors to drive down our stock price, so you can buy us out. Alex poured 2 glasses of whiskey, handing one to Marcus. And what do you think? I don't know what to think anymore. Nothing makes sense. The numbers don't add up. People I trust are giving me conflicting advice, and Victoria keeps saying she's protecting me from vultures. But, Marcus sank into a chair, looking defeated. But I feel like I'm losing myself. Like I'm becoming someone I don't recognize. That's when I stepped out of the shadows. Marcus. He looked up, startled. Sophia? What are you doing here? Living her life, Alex said before I could answer. The same way you should be living yours. I don't understand. I moved closer, my heart pounding. Marcus, when's the last time you made a decision, any decision without asking Victoria's opinion first? He opened his mouth to answer, then closed it, frowning. When's the last time you talked to your friends, your colleagues, anyone who isn't Victoria? She says she's protecting me from people who want to take advantage. She's isolating you, I said gently. And you're letting her. Alex set down his glass. Marcus, I'm going to show you something, and I want you to really look at it. For the next hour, Alex laid out everything. The secret stock purchases, the manipulation of creditors, the systematic isolation, even evidence that Victoria had been feeding information about Wellington Construction to her father's acquisition team. Marcus sat in stunned silence, occasionally asking for clarification but mostly just absorbing the magnitude of what had been happening under his nose. She's been planning this for over a year, Alex concluded. She researched you, found out about your engagement to Sophia, and timed Tyler's reveal perfectly to maximum emotional impact. But Tyler is my son, Marcus said weakly. Yes, he is, and that's not his fault. But Victoria has been using your love for him as a weapon against your judgment. Marcus looked at me, his eyes filled with regret and confusion. Sophia, I'm so sorry. I don't know how I let this happen. You let it happen because you're a good man who wanted to do right by his child, I said. But Marcus, doing right by Tyler doesn't mean letting his mother destroy your life. What about us? He asked quietly. Is there still an us? I touched my still small bump, visible now at 16 weeks. That depends. Are you asking because you love me, or because you feel obligated? I'm asking because I've been an idiot. And I love you, and I can't imagine my life without you in it. Alex cleared his throat. I should probably mention that I've been in touch with my lawyers. There are ways to protect Tyler's interests while also protecting yourself from Victoria's manipulations. Custody doesn't have to mean capitulation. Marcus looked between us, something like hope flickering in his eyes. You'd help me fight this, both of you. We're not fighting Victoria, I said. We're fighting for your right to make your own choices. For Tyler's right to have a father who isn't being manipulated. For our baby's right to be born into a family built on love instead of fear. Our baby, Marcus repeated, the words seeming to anchor him. God, Sophia, I've missed so much already. You haven't missed anything important yet, but you will if you keep letting Victoria make your decisions for you. What followed wasn't easy. Victoria fought back viciously when she realized her scheme was unraveling, threatening everything from custody battles to corporate warfare. But with Alex's resources and connections, and with Marcus finally thinking clearly, we were able to turn the tables. The custody arrangement we worked out put Tyler's needs first while limiting Victoria's ability to use him as leverage. Marcus regained control of his company with Alex as a strategic partner, and 6 months later I walked down the aisle, not in the elaborate ceremony we'd originally planned, but in a simple, intimate gathering that felt infinitely more meaningful. Alexander walked me down the aisle, whispering, "You know, I think this worked out exactly as it was supposed to." As Marcus and I exchanged vows, Tyler stood beside us as ring-bearer, grinning with the uncomplicated joy of a child who finally had the stable, loving family he deserved, even if it wasn't quite the family Victoria had envisioned. And when our daughter Emma was born 3 months later, Tyler was the first to hold her, declaring himself the best big brother in the world. Sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. Sometimes it's simply building a life so good that the people who tried to tear you down become irrelevant to your happiness. Victoria moved back to London shortly after the custody agreement was finalized. Last I heard, she was targeting some other struggling company, playing the same games with different pieces. But that's her story to tell. This one is mine, and it has a very happy ending. Looking for more? We've got 2 amazing stories ready for you right on screen. If this one touched you, these are absolutely worth your time. Click to watch them now. And hey, subscribe and hit that bell to never miss our latest uploads.